Right then.
Greetings all. Greetings here, greetings here.
Greetings there, greetings there. I'm Rick Levine.
And I'm Steve Judd.
And
Hello, world.
And I want you to act locally but think globally. All right?
Actually, the truth is, I want people to think, I don't care whether they're thinking globally, locally, spiritually, emotionally, just need to fucking think.
I want them to think globally. Not just locally, but globally.
All right, so here we are. This is the first time I've done an Instagram live.
And we're actually recording on Instagram, Zoom, and photo booth on YouTube as well.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
And we're in, I don't know, we're northwest of London, and we're at Shifts Happen. And Shifts Happen is about to happen.
And Shifts Happen, can't even say that, is actually a conference that we are hosting here in St. Albans. But of course, it's important for people to know that this is also available as a virtual. So shameless commercial
absolutely.
Promotion here. And if you're watching this on Instagram Live, the link is in my bio, and you can, this will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday of this week. And you can join us from anywhere in the world. Hello, Shauna.
And if you're watching it on my YouTube, you'll find all the links for this right in the box underneath. And we're going to keep the streaming ticket option open until basically Friday or Saturday. So if you want to join in, you can.
And that having been said, the transits for this conference are kind of crazy, and I know that as astrologers we labored for hours to make this exactly. No, that's not true at all. It just happened, didn't it?
Shift happened.
Shift happens.
We decided to do the conference. We knew it was going to be Mars opposite Pluto, and we knew that there was going to be a lot of crazy stuff going down in the world in March and April. So we thought, okay, let's do a conference at the start of May. What we didn't know when we booked the program at the moment.
Wait, I'm going to ask you to stop because I just realized I wasn't recording for the YouTube thing. So we don't have to repeat everything for everyone that's been online. But I just want to say that for people who are joining and watching this on my YouTube feed, this is Rick Levine and Steve Judd, and we're here at a conference that we're doing this weekend just north of London. And there is a virtual ticket available, or tickets available, that will be in my description here below. And for everyone else who's been with us for a few minutes, sorry to have to repeat all that. But,
same on my end.
Sometimes shift happen, and sometimes you forget to record the shift.
Yeah. So we decided the program, and we decided what time we were going to start, and then when we looked at the horoscope, after we'd set the program in place, we realised that the Mars-Pluto opposition was going to be on the MC and IC axis.
Nailed.
At the time we started, and there's going to be a precise 1 minute of 1 degree conjunction between Venus and Neptune. And then today, when we set up at the hotel and started welcoming the first people in, at the moment we opened everything up, Mars was rising and Pluto was setting. So this is definitely a Mars-Pluto event.
Well, but for me personally, the Venus conjunct Neptune that is perfecting today, well, on the 2nd, actually, on May 2nd, I have a Venus-Neptune opposition that's not just 0 degree orb, it's 0 degrees and 0 minutes orb, that opposition. So I have great affinity.
So this is your soft, gentle, empathic, compassionate side.
Fuck you.
I didn't say that. You don't see me swearing on YouTube.
No.
I'm a sophisticated, elegant one.
No, and of course, as you know, I also have a Cancer moon, and I believe you have a bit of Cancerian energy.
Just a tad, yeah.
Running around in your chart.
I'm a shy, gentle, compassionate, insecure, delicate, moody Cancerian.
Right, and I'm the now deceased Pope speaking to you through Rick Levine's body. Okay, where are we going?
This is what he does. He brings this out in me. Stadler and Waldorf have been reincarnated into two crazy astrologers who are just out to influence the world for all the best possible reasons. Trust me, I'm an astrologer.
Yeah, I trust you. I trust you.
I trust him.
I have my Venus opposition Neptune, and today's Venus conjunct Neptune. We would trust a caterpillar.
See, I have a Venus trine Neptune 1 degree,
Oh, okay.
And
so
a Mars square Neptune 1 degree. It makes me a good dancer, but it does mean I shouldn't do a lot of alcohol.
Yeah. So here we are at this beginnings of this conference, and although certainly it would be fun with just you and me here, we also have Dr. Nick Campion joining us.
Isn't he a professor now?
That's what they say. And Alex Trenoweth and
Alex Trenoweth is with us. Yeah.
and Penny Thornton.
Penny Thornton's coming.
And so we got kind of a nice little tight little group here. And it's going to be a fun weekend. I'm really excited about this.
We've already got about 15, 16 people arrived, and there's people from 23 different countries, and that's just in people coming here for the event. And there's loads of day visitors, but we're also going to have about 120 people streaming. So if you want to join in on the stream, you're most welcome. And you will be able to play back. So a lot of people are saying, does that mean we've got to watch it live? Well, it'd be great if you did, but if you can't, you will be able to watch it live afterwards for at least a week, possibly as long as 10 days. So up to you. You're most welcome. We're going to make it the difference between this and any other astrological conference that may or may not be happening is that we are not just going to sit down and lecture to people. We're going to be immersive, integrated, assimilated with the audience. We're going to be having the meals with everyone. We're going to be sharing the evening laughter, the music, the little bit of alcohol. The key word is...
And by the way, for those of you attending virtually, you'll have to bring your own alcohol. We don't yet have the technology to to deliver that via hypertext alcohol delivery.
We have got a few psychics.
Well,
but they're not going to be able to send alcohol.
But Steve,
across the waves.
astrologically, we were talking astrology, and you're talking about the Mars-Pluto opposition. Technically, that opposition is already beginning to wane. Is it not?
It is, but realistically, bearing in mind the chaos of the world over this last few weeks, I think that this Mars-Pluto opposition, yes, it's waning in strength, but the impacts are still resonating worldwide and will continue to do so for it. But it does seem that May is going to be, in general, a little bit quieter than this year so far. But then we got that big line up in the second week of June.
Oh, yeah. And, the May... by the way, for anyone who's watching this live, my May forecast is done and completed, will be posted in the next few hours. But, every month when I post my forecast, I always create a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 word little overview for what, and my May forecast is entitled Consciousness Upgrade in Progress.
I think that's a really good way of describing it because shifts happen.
Well, but this shift, to some extent, has already happened and has not yet happened at the same time. In other words, we're in the midst of a shift, but we're seeing it from this moving perspective of today. And certainly, we could go back to the 1960s and forward to the 2060s and say this is going to be maybe the greatest shift that humanity has ever seen. But we could also just go back to 2020 to now, or even just March, April, and into May. And so depending on the perspective, the shift is that dramatic. And even with the Mars in Leo opposing Pluto in Aquarius, that shift really began building up right around Election Day in the United States, the presidential election. That was the first of the 3 of them. The second was in operation all through the month of January, the month that Donald Trump was inaugurated. And in a way, we're now getting the real meaning that's behind it. And it'll really take still, I believe, months in order for us to be able to understand what happened during this period of time.
I've got something for you as well. I don't know if you've noticed this. We all know that in about, 3.5 weeks' time, Saturn is going to move into Aries.
Yes.
Okay, around about May 26th, 27th.
Yes.
Right, but that's a geocentric movement.
Yeah.
Right? But heliocentrically, Neptune is going to move into Aries on May the 25th.
Yeah.
So Neptune Helio and Saturn Geo are going to move into Aries simultaneously.
And they're already from heliocentrically. it's that difference in perspective that make them still look like, because of the retrogrades, that they're not, not joined. Yeah, no, that's very, very powerful. And obviously, Saturn catches up with Neptune every, 36 years?
36, 37 years.
Yeah, and yet in recorded history, as far as back as any of us have looked, it's never happened at the point of the vernal equinox.
Never. Not in 10,000 years.
And it's important to understand that there are branches of astrology, cosmobiology, Uranian astrology in particular, where the 0 degrees Aries point is actually considered a mappable point, just like the nodes of the moon. And we often don't do that in modern astrology.
But that's because we're practitioners, not students. We don't have the time to study this. We're too busy doing the stuff.
But the fact that this is happening at that 0 degree point is like another whole level of initiation. And then the fact that Saturn will very quickly trine, Pluto, having just moved into Aquarius, and then that'll be followed by Neptune's trine. It'll sextile Pluto into Aquarius, but then we get the Uranus moving into Gemini and
the Uranus trine Pluto. Yeah. That's the big one from my perspective.
I agree. It's the first smooth aspect since the Uranus-Pluto conjunction in the mid-60s.
And after that, there's so little in terms of large-scale, long-term, big picture for so many years to come. So that tells me yet again that the period we're in now is the biggest period of compressed and concentrated change that we've had, probably in my lifetime.
Maybe
not in 10,000 years, or at
least
2,000
although
years.
I would say the mid-60s with the Uranus-Pluto.
Yeah, but you're old enough to remember that.
I'm also old enough to have forgotten some of it.
I was 10.
There's two other things that are happening this month or in the next month or so, or this month. And one of them is the third and final Jupiter-Saturn square, which also began last year. And that just adds another whole wave of, I think of Jupiter and Saturn as peristalsis.
But that's on June the 9th, though. That's when they're both at 0 degrees.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, peristalsis is the expansion and contraction of how the body moves. It's like a snake that swallows a rat, and you can see the bulge, and that contraction in the esophagus or in the colon is waves of expansion and contraction. That's the way Jupiter and Saturn work together.
But this Jupiter-Saturn square at the 0 degrees, because Jupiter loves being in Cancer, and I'm quite happy about Saturn being at 0 Aries, conjunct Neptune, because it's going to bring a bit of structure into the imagination. Yeah. I really think that, but it is going to lead to a short-term, severe blip in stock prices, gold prices, crypto. I expect the markets to go a bit crazy just for a few days around that time.
There's another thing happening this month that people are not talking about. And I know that this may not be something that you've spent a lot of time thinking in, because I know that you're a bit more of a astrological pragmatist than some people are, than I am on some level. And that is that we're getting the once every 53, 54 year conjunction of Chiron and Aries. And, people who don't use Eris now are like people who didn't use Uranus in the 1870s.
No, I'm not going to let you get away with this.
Well, hold on. Let me say this first. When Chiron was discovered in the 1970s, in 77, most astrologers didn't use Chiron.
No.
And maybe you still don't. I don't know.
I do.
Okay.
Religiously.
Okay. But in the 1930s and in the 1940s, most astrologers were not using Pluto. Now, all I'm saying is that whether or not we put a lot of focus on it right now, that Chiron is aligning, conjoining Eris for the first of 3 times. It's just another wave of the deepness of the change that's going on and the potential we have for healing at this moment, whether you use it or not.
I don't use Eris simply because it moves so damn slowly.
Well, people said that about Uranus and people said that about Pluto.
Yeah, but Eris moves what? It's got a 1,000-year orbit.
All right.
So, if we're using Eris as a fixed star...
Let me ask you, that's what I'm saying. So if something doesn't move at all, like Regulus or like Sirius, there are fixed stars that we know that there are points that work. Algol, perfect. I mean, we have a Uranus Algol issue certainly still, hanging around. But whether it moves really fast or not, there's something there that warps or bends things out of shape. And all I'm saying is that when Chiron aligns, because Chiron's a 50-year cycle, roughly, and when Chiron aligns with Eris, I mean, there's just another wave of how potent this time is on top of everything else. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, but my argument is, are we actually that sensitive that we can discern the Chiron Aries influence on top of everything else?
I am.
I used to be modest before I became perfect. So, I'm not going to defecate on your doorstep.
No, but I think that the outer planets, the newly discovered planets. Remember when each of the, and this is a talk that I'll be giving here called Personalizing the Outer Planets. I'll be giving that, I think, on Saturday, that lecture. Because when each of the outer planets was discovered, they were, by astrologers, said to be, well, they're cosmic, they're too out there, they're not part of us. But in each case, when they were discovered, at first they were considered to be too far away, too slow, and then they were integrated into our awareness.
Is it Sedna or Eris we're talking?
Well, I'm talking about Eris, but Sedna and Varuna.
It's not even round. It's not even a planet.
Well, it doesn't matter, I'm suggesting. Regardless, and
it's potato-shaped.
So is the Earth, actually. It's an obloid sphere.
See, we've still got Uranus conjunct Algol at the moment, and
yes,
Uranus is a planet that's
and Steve's
commonly
trying
associated
to
with
cut my
astrology.
head off.
So we might actually decapitate each other during this conference. No promises, and we won't video it. It's just for the people who are here.
Actually,
right?
we might. A virtual ticket might get you a visual of the decapitation.
Spur. No.
Yeah.
I think we should call it quits while we're ahead.
All right.
Before we kill each other.
Wait. We're going to call it quits before we're ahead. There's a Uranus conjunct Algol. And for those of you who don't know, Algol is a fixed star, is considered to be the star of decapitation. And Ptolemy said that it was the most treacherous star in the sky. But it turns out that there's a story behind Algol that I think Alex will give us over this weekend. Alex Trenoweth is giving a talk on Algol, because Algol, it basically represents the decapitated Medusa, who may have been the first Me Too victim, because she was raped by Neptune.
We're getting contentious now, so I think we'd better look at. Listen, my name's Rick Levine.
Oh, stop it. And I'm Steve Judd.
And we're getting out of here before we get too much Gemini going on.
I think we got a bit of trouble.
Okay. Catch you later, world.
All right.
Bye.
Peace out. Think cosmically, act locally.
Catch you later, world. Bye.